In the context of the Israel-Palestine conflict is this three-paragraph letter which was written on 2nd November 1917 by Britain Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to the head of British Jewish community Walter Rothschild. But the British government had no idea about the potential damage caused by this letter. This is one of the world's most controversial topics. I'll strive to maintain a neutral stance while providing my analysis based on the given facts. Who is at fault and who is in the right in the Israel-Palestine conflict? What is the main reason behind this conflict, and what role has the British government played in this situation? Before World War I, there was no conflict in the region of Palestine, even though Muslims were in the majority. Jews and Christians lived with them happily. At that time, this entire area was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, which spanned Europe, Northern Africa, and many areas of the Middle East. Some Arab leaders were not happy with the Ottoman Empire and sought independence. To achieve this, they formed alliances with the Ottomans' enemies, the British. The British promised these leaders an independent country if they helped defeat the Ottoman Empire. The British made a similar commitment to the Jews of Europe. The Jewish nation didn't have a permanent homeland from day one, making them a minority wherever they resided. In Europe, they faced discrimination and, at times, persecution by Christians who believed that the Jews were responsible for the death of Jesus Christ. The Jews were dispersed worldwide and had a strong network. Their movement for a separate homeland in Palestine, named Zionism, gained momentum, leading Jews from all over the world to migrate towards Palestine. They were funded to start businesses and provided shelter by their community. Fast forward to 1917, during World War I, the Ottomans were losing the war. On November 2, 1917, the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote a letter to the head of the British Jewish community, Walter Rothschild. The context of this letter was that Jews could establish their separate country in Palestine. A month later, the British defeated the Ottomans and occupied Palestine, which was then colonized with Jews from Europe. With British assistance, they built schools, factories, and a military unit called the Haganah. In 1939, the Arabs of Palestine protested against the British. The British responded by deporting many protesters and hanging leaders involved in the protest on charges of treason against the government. Despite this, the Arabs of Palestine continued their strikes, putting pressure on the British. Eventually, the British, facing difficulties, established the Peel Commission, which proposed a solution to divide the country into two parts. However, Arab leaders did not agree with this solution, as they were protesting against the division of the country. The strikes continued until the British government released a white paper. Analyzing the last 20 years' situation in Palestine, the British government published a policy canceling the Peel Commission, banning more Jewish immigrants in the country, prohibiting immigrant Jews from purchasing Arab land, and proposing to make Palestine an independent state, which would be a homeland for both Arabs and Jews. The Zionists considered this white paper a deception. It became a reason for the first conflict between Jews and the British. They declined to agree on the white paper and started attacking the British across the country. These attacks continued for a few months until World War II started. The war resulted in 60 million casualties worldwide. The German dictator Adolf Hitler brutally killed 6 million European Jews in his death camps, wiping out 66% of the Jewish population in Europe, an incident known as the Holocaust. The remaining Jews had no other option but to migrate towards Palestine, a holy land to them, where many Jews were already residing. Despite the ban on more Jewish immigrants in the country, they continued to migrate towards Palestine. However, things were not going well in Palestine, as the Zionists were still fighting against the white paper with the British. After World War II, the British were tired and weakened, deciding to evacuate Palestine and leave the chaos they had created on the shoulders of the United Nations in 1947. At that time, the population of Jews in Palestine was 630,000. with 143,000 Christians and 181,000 Muslims, according to Italian Jewish demographer Sergio Della. The Muslim population was clearly double the Jewish population, but the United Nations proposed to give 55% land to Jews in the General Assembly. All Arab countries and India voted against this resolution, but it passed with 72% of the votes, giving 55% of Palestinian land to 30% Jews. After this, Palestinians and Zionists faced each other, and the country was once again in a state of war. However, the Jews had a stronger military, making it difficult for Palestinians to confront them for long, resulting in their defeat. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion officially announced the State of Israel, becoming its first prime minister. In 1948, 5 neighboring Arab countries attacked Israel and lost the war due to Israel's strong military support from Western countries. After the war, Israel took control of the Palestinian land designated for Palestinian Arabs by the United Nations. The West Bank went under Jordan's control, and the Gaza Strip was controlled by Egypt. In 1967, a second war between Arab countries and Israel was fought, leading to Israel taking control of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, along with a significant portion of Egyptian land. After this takeover, the Palestinians established their own organization named the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, with the goal of securing a separate homeland for Palestinians. In 1974, the PLO was recognized by the United Nations as the representatives of Palestinians. Due to Israeli occupation, Jews began building houses in the West Bank, which the international community objected to, considering it a violation of the 1947 United Nations Partition Plan. The West Bank was originally designated for Palestinians, but Israel illegally occupied it and began populating it with Jewish immigrants, securing the area with concrete walls, which intensified the difficulties faced by Palestinians. In 1992, peace talks took place between the PLO and Israel. PLO leader Yasser Arafat recognized Israel, and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin also recognized the PLO, acknowledging that it is not a terrorist organization. After the peace talks, the PLO divided into 2 groups, one in favor of recognizing Israel and another rejecting this decision, known as Hamas today. On the other hand, Israeli extremist groups condemned the Israeli Prime Minister's decision. Despite these challenges, the peace talks succeeded, and the PLO gained control over some areas of land. In 1995, the Israeli Prime Minister was assassinated by an Israeli extremist group. In 1996, the first elections in Palestine were held, leading to the formation of the first Palestinian government. However, Hamas, the militant wing of Palestine, boycotted the elections. In 2006, Palestine held its second elections, resulting in a victory for Hamas. This triggered a civil war between PLO and Hamas, leading to the division of Palestine into 2 pieces. Currently, some areas of the West Bank are ruled by PLO, and the Gaza Strip is ruled by Hamas. Missiles fired at Israel are launched from the Gaza Strip, and the situation intensifies after every 3 years between Hamas and Israel. The most recent escalation occurred on 23 October 2023, resulting in 13,078 casualties, including 5,506 children, with the war ongoing in Palestine. As we conclude this video, we want to express our gratitude for your time and support. Your engagement means the world to us. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.